Welcome back to another episode of This Old Shop. Today, we're going to take down what I like to refer to as our service area. And no, we're not going to drive a truck through it like last time. Although it was efficient, it lacked precision. So we need to surgically take this apart because we want to save a portion of it. The truck kind of just takes everything out. So we're going to take all the drywall off, pull all the electrical out of it, pull up the flooring upstairs that we haven't taken up yet, and pull up the flooring down here. And then just take off what we don't need and leave the rest. And if we're lucky, the rest won't come crashing down on top of us. So a lot of you didn't like this color blue out here, and I have to say, I agree with you. So let's get rid of it. Not only is peeling the drywall off of this wall satisfying, we get the added bonus of getting rid of this awful color. I don't know how they decided on this color. I assume it was a choice made in a room with the lights off. Or knowing what I know about the previous tenant, it was probably some discounted accidental mix that the hardware store had laying around because nobody else wanted it. And it was cheap, so it went on the wall. And of course, like everything else that they painted, I assume it was put on with a trowel because there's more paint than there is drywall in this wall. In order to get the rest of our drywall off, we have to use our trim remover tool. Pull this casing off our window. Really tempting fate leaving those glass panels in there. Maybe they'll survive. They're going to the dumpster. Might be in one piece, might be in 1,000. We'll wait and see. Back to peeling our wall. Nothing says quality build like a stack of drywall underneath the outer layer of drywall to shim it out, hoping that they can get it flat. Okay, now I'm just taking out my aggression on the wall. Now we're going to pull our cover plate off of our switch before we take the drywall down. I'm not sure why. I guess I wanted to make sure I didn't break it before I threw it in the garbage, because that's where it's headed. Now we can continue peeling our wall now. And look at all the holes in the wall. I'm not sure what they had going on the other side, but maybe those are nails from pictures, or somebody's really bad at darts. They must have spackled over everything and covered it up because you don't see those on the other side. Of course, there are some nails that they just covered right up, and they are sticking through. And we got one 2x4 up there that's got a little bit of a lean to it. It looks like when they put it up, they marked it for the 16-inch center, and then they proceeded to nail that 2x4 on the wrong side of the line that they drew. And unfortunately, that's a portion of the wall that we're going to be saving. So we're going to have to do something about that. Since we took some of our flooring up last time, we can get some of our forbidden cotton candy out of here. Don't ask me why they insulated the ceiling and not the wall that's between the office and the shop. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it wasn't in the budget, but I'm just going to toss all this on the ground. I'm only hired to make the mess, not to clean it up. I know, safety experts, I should be wearing a hazmat suit to do this, or at a minimum, some gloves. But I was raised in a time where we drank from garden hoses, rode in cars with no car seats, rode bikes without helmets, and restaurants had smoking and non-smoking sections. While we're up here, we'll knock this header off. We'll go ahead and knock our handrail off. Won't be needing that anymore. I'm too lazy to go find the ladder, so we're going to go ahead and use our multi-purpose drywall remover tool. One of its other functions is ceiling tile remover. Well, we're going to see how it works anyway. So far, so good. Since we don't really care about these ceiling tiles, they're all going in the pile. I feel like it's a little bit slower than taking the ceiling tiles out by hand, but the difference is made up because I'm not moving the ladder all the time. However, these plastic panels, it's a huge time saver. Poke them and they fall right out of there. I don't know why they chose to put these two little strips down the center. They also have two half pieces down each side, totaling about 3 feet. So it seems like you could have had full panels and then one section down the center that would have been 3 foot. A whole lot less cutting, a whole lot less track. What do I know? I guess they like doing things the hard way. We'll just keep poking at all of our ceiling tiles until they're all on the floor and somebody else has to clean up my mess. Once I'm satisfied that the mess on the floor is now adequate for sea turtle snacking purposes, I went and found the ladder so that we can move on to our next project, which is getting rid of all this old wiring. This wiring is for the phone system that was installed back when this building was built, so it's all analog. Of course, we got rid of that a long time ago because, well, it was cheap and it worked, so why would you want it? We can replace it with something that, well, doesn't work all the time and costs more money. So that's what we did, because that's how things work in 2025. That's more forbidden cotton candy up there. And we're going to continue just cutting our wires. We're not going to fish them out of there. They're all going in the pile. At least I'm hoping these aren't used anymore. Well, they won't be usable when I'm done. Sea turtles are going to be eating good in this shop. This phone wire spaghetti is considered a delicacy. Remove our last couple straggler ceiling tiles that survived the first ceiling tile holocaust. Now we can start pulling all our ceiling tile grid work out of here. We'll cut all the little hanging wires. And when the mains drop down, the little cross pieces just kind of slip right out. Just lift them up and they pull out of there. We'll hand those off to the pizza girl. She can go stack them in the corner. We might end up using these later, because as much as I don't like drop ceilings, I dislike drywall much more. And drop ceilings are kind of convenient to hide stuff and still be able to access it later if you have to. I'm just about out of patience, so I made an executive decision to destroy the centerpieces. That takes the rest of it down much quicker. And you just kind of lift them up and the cross braces pop out of there. They riveted the ends on there, so we'll just set that over to the side for right now. And move on to the rest of it. When we get lucky, some of it just falls out without even trying. You can disconnect these main pieces, but well, that requires a tool that I didn't feel like walking to go get, so we're just going to end up destroying them all. The specialized tool is also known as a screwdriver. We'll try our side cutters, see how they work. Not as well as a screwdriver, so we're just going to bend it. And tear the rest of it off the wall. One way or another, it's coming down. And this way is so much more fun. Well, I guess there's a drawback to losing a little bit of weight when you start remodeling a building. Not enough to pull the rest of this down, so we're going to have to cut all these little wires. They're pretty tough. Drop our last couple of main pieces down and throw them all in the pile. Now that all our grid's out of the way, we can see all of our lights. we can start pulling the electrical out, but we have to work backwards. So all the electrical comes out of the panel, goes into the lights, and then they run all the wires through the lights like conduit down through the walls. So we're going to start at the end of the loop here, which happens to be this outlet in the wall. We'll pull that out of there. We can go ahead and pull our bulbs down. These are LED. It was converted over. Pull our covers down. And then we can pull the wires out that went down to our outlet. Loosen up the lock nut for our conduit. Spin that off of there. Loosen up the set screw. We'll pull our connector off of there so it doesn't get stuck back in there. Pull our other cover down. And start fishing our wires out. These aren't connected to lights at all. That was just the power to that outlet. Pull our bulbs out of our next one. Pull the covers down. And pull that outlet wire through our next light. We will have to disconnect these lights because there are power wires that go to it from the switch. So we'll get those in a second. Speaking of the switch, we can go ahead and pull that out of here. Pull our cover off. Unscrew our switch. Yes, I did shut all this power off, safety experts. I don't know why I chose to unscrew this instead of just cutting it off of there, but I did. And we got some more wires that run down to another outlet. So we'll pull that outlet out of here. We'll unscrew this one too. Not sure why. It runs to the other side of the wall. There's another outlet in the other room. We'll unscrew that. You'll have to trust me, I did it. And now we can pull all of our wires out of here, both for the outlet and for our switch. We'll loosen up the set screw on our conduit that goes into our light. And if you're playing the at-home drinking game, every time I say conduit, you have to take a drink. I am not responsible for the alcohol poisoning. I failed to give this disclaimer in previous videos, and my email was inundated with people sitting in the ER wanting to know if I would be able to reimburse them for all of their medical bills. Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. I'm poor. I know that can be hard to believe when you see me driving around in such luxurious vehicles as a rusty old Grand Am or a Ram ProMaster City, but unfortunately, it's true. Now I'm pulling all the electrical tape off of our wires here. We got a few circuits that run through here. And on to our next light. Already pulled the bulbs down. We'll pull the covers down. Untape these wires. Move on to the next light. Pull these bulbs down and our covers. And we found another socket. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect that. And then we can pull the wires out. Now that we've pulled all of our wires that run through our lights and disconnected our lights themselves, we can go ahead and unscrew them from the joists. They're clipped together, we just pull them apart. And we got a wire that's snagged. Stuff it back up there for a second, move the ladder over here, and fish that wire out of there. On to our next light. We are trying to save these, so I didn't just want to drop them on the ground. We do have another use for them. Well, not this one, because the ends are all burned up. I was lucky that we didn't have a fire in there. I did learn something new on this style light that I thought was pretty neat. You can pop those ends of the lights off, turn them sideways, and they slip into little tabs on the top, and you can actually join the lights together in a string, and they lock in. I thought that was pretty neat. I didn't know it worked like that, but when I took them apart, apparently somebody else knew they worked like that. Maybe they read the directions. I don't know if all of these lights are like that, but these happen to be that way. Now we're going to fish all of our wires out of this light. This is all of our circuits come through this one light and then kind of went everywhere else. Some through the other lights, some down through the wall. We didn't cut any of the wires. We left them as long as we could because I might want to reuse these circuits later and not have to run new wires. So we're going to pull them all out of here, loop them up real nice, tape them up, and go hang them somewhere. And when we're ready to rewire everything, we might reuse them. Or we might just end up cutting them off later. But at least this way, they're there if we need them.
Hey, Kool-Aid! Oh yeah, Kool-Aid here, bringing you fun. Kool-Aid's got thirst on the run.
I feel like I've pushed my luck enough with this glass and it's still here in 2 pieces. Let's put it in the dumpster that way so I'm not trying to pick up 20,000 pieces. Let's add another door to our pile of hoarded doors. Still don't know what I'm going to do with them. I've thrown a couple out, but this one, I guess, gets to stay around a little longer because the glass did survive so far. I'm not going to fit through the doorway that way. We'll see what happens to it later. Try and pull our door frame. We're getting the whole wall. I really only want the door frame. Maybe the drywall. Alright, I guess we'll settle for some trim. I think I'm going to go work on the other side. Hopefully it won't fall that way and fall on top of me and turn me into a pancake like cartoons. So at least this side we got our trim off and our wall stayed up for the most part. With that trim out of the way, we can see the edge of our drywall and start prying it out of there. And then we can start peeling it off. And what do you know? More cotton candy in this wall. Don't ask me why they insulated the wall between the parts room and the service room, but not the service room and the shop. And there was no heat in the parts area, so it had to be a little uncomfortable in there in the winter. I have successfully turned our wall into a door. There's one nail up there hanging on for dear life. There's always one. Everybody clear? Timber. We tossed all of our cotton candy in the garbage, so now it's time to break down this wall so that we can throw some of it away and take the nails out of some of the 2x4s and save them and toss the drywall in the pile. We also kind of made a bet on how long this was going to take me. The Pizza Girl's estimate was the closest, but if we're playing by the Price is Right rules, closest without going over, nobody won. I was actually the furthest away. I guessed the highest time. Apparently, I underestimated my abilities to destroy things. Since I guessed last, I probably should have done what they do on The Price is Right and just guessed 1 second. Then I would have won. But I didn't. I don't know what the prize was anyway, but I didn't get it. And in case you're wondering, Pizza Girl guessed 2 minutes, 15 seconds. I believe the roaming gnome was somewhere around 4 minutes, and I think I said 6. Turned out it was under 2 minutes. Destroy everything. Swing and a miss. Actually, the only one. Now we'll grab our high capacity assault drywall removal tool and de-drywall this wall. Well, let's throw another door on the pile. We'll save this one as well. When I'm working on cars and I'm taking doors off, I always start at the bottom and work my way up. That way the top hinge holds the door. I don't know why I decide not to do that when I'm working on a building, because it works the same way. Knock, knock. Got a little drywall, some door frame, and some trim. One more piece of trim over here. Now we can see the edge of our drywall. Oh, door frame came out first, so. We'll trim off the other side. And now we can get to our drywall and paint. Yep, painted with a trowel, just like everything else. At least they were consistent. More cotton candy in this wall. Looks like we had some residents. I would say that was a mouse house, but it looks more like it was a condominium. There's quite a few living in there. They got evicted with the last tenant, so hopefully they're living with him. Nobody needs a high-capacity assault drywall removal tool. Shut up, Karen. It's my right as an American to have these weapons of war. Of course, this one is really efficient. It's removed the whole wall, not just the drywall. There's one nail hanging on at the bottom over there. Bob Elgato might have been responsible for part of that. Look at that, 2 pieces. Might reuse that. Well, this looks like a good place to end it for this video. We got our room basically turned into nothing more than a skeleton. So next time we come back, we're just gonna have to start taking the bones out until we get it to the size we want. And then we gotta deal with the HVAC over there in the corner and maybe the flooring. We'll do all that next time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.
Hey, Golem! Oh yeah! I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.